Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're taking a specific source
Yeah, an audio resource.
for English learners.
Exactly. And we're going to, extract the key insights, the really important stuff, so you can get the essence without getting sort of bogged down.
It's all about efficient understanding.
Right. So efficient learning, informed understanding.
And our mission here, specifically, is to look at the structure, the content of this particular English learning podcast. It's aimed at B1 level learners. We're going to sort of break it down, see how it's designed, and maybe more importantly, what learning principles it's using, even if it's subtle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the source itself, it's basically an episode with like natural conversations.
Pretty much everyday topics.
For things like daily routines, hobbies,
plans, work, study talk, even small talk, which is crucial.
Oh, definitely. And it looks like they also cover common mistakes.
Yeah, and they throw in a listening challenge, plus some practice tips at the end. It's quite packed, actually. So you get a real sense of how they're trying to help learners, learn effectively.
That's the plan, to see what techniques they're using and what that tells us about good language learning practice.
Okay, so where should we start? The content seems quite varied.
Well, what jumps out first is just the range of everyday situations they cover.
Right. Relatable stuff.
Exactly. By grounding it all in things people actually do and talk about, it makes the language less abstract, less intimidating maybe.
Yeah, it's not just grammar rules floating about.
No, it's language tied to real life, which, is a basic principle for learning anything, isn't it? Start familiar, then expand.
So, okay, let's look at those first bits. They start with daily routines and hobbies. Why is that a good starting point, do you think?
Well, routines. That's stuff we do all the time, right?
Yeah.
So the language, the vocabulary, the sentence patterns, you're likely to hear and use them a lot.
Ah, so there's a kind of built-in repetition.
Exactly. It's like natural space repetition, which we know is great for memory, for making things stick. Not just for language, for anything.
Okay, makes sense. And then hobbies.
Hobbies add that personal touch. It taps into motivation. If you're talking about something you actually like, you're just more engaged, aren't you?
Yeah, you care more. It's not just a drill.
Precisely. And engagement boosts learning. It's a known factor.
And looking at those early sections, the conversation seemed, pretty straightforward, like basic questions and answers.
Yeah, like what do you do in the morning?
Yeah.
Followed by a simple answer. They're modeling really fundamental conversational turns.
Showing you how to start, how to respond.
In a way that feels natural but isn't, too complicated for a B1 learner. And they often nudge the listener too, right? Like suggesting phrases.
Yeah, encouraging participation.
Even if it's just mental participation.
Yeah.
It's still a form of active recall. You're retrieving language.
Yeah.
Not just passively listening.
And that retrieval practice, that's key for memory in any subject, isn't it? Whether it's language or, history facts?
Absolutely. Forcing yourself to pull it out strengthens the memory trace.
Okay, so after routines and hobbies, they move on. I think you mentioned plans, work, study.
Yeah, that's where it gets perhaps a little more complex.
How so? What's the benefit of that progression?
Well, discussing plans usually brings in future tenses, right?
Yeah.
And work or study introduces more specific vocabulary, maybe slightly more formal structures.
So it builds on the earlier stuff.
Exactly. It's like scaffolding. You've got the basic conversational rhythm down from the routines bit. You've got some core vocabulary.
And now you can handle something a bit more involved.
Right. You build confidence. You feel ready for the next step because the previous one wasn't overwhelming. Walk before you run, basically.
That makes sense. And then there's the small talk section. Polite expressions seem simple, but How important is that?
Oh, hugely important. For language learners, definitely. But honestly, for anyone in any new social setting.
Yeah. Why is that?
Small talk is like the social lubricant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing the basic greetings, the polite questions, how to respond appropriately.
How are you? Nice weather. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's how you build rapport. It's the entry point. Without those little phrases, it's hard to even start a conversation or feel comfortable.
Like the opening move in a game.
Sort of. Or like the handshake before a meeting. It sets the stage. It was nice meeting you. Simple, but it matters.
Okay, got it. Then they tackle common mistakes directly. That feels really practical.
It is very practical.
Yeah.
By pointing out typical errors, maybe verb endings or common pronunciation mix-ups for B1 level.
You're giving targeted help.
Yes, it shows they understand the specific hurdles learners face at that stage. It's like preventative guidance.
Helping you spot and fix things in your own speaking or writing.
And that kind of specific feedback is gold dust when you're learning anything. Think about learning a sport if someone points out a consistent flaw in your technique.
You can actually work on fixing it.
Right. Otherwise, you might just keep repeating the mistake.
Good point. And what about the listening challenge and the role play practice they include?
Those are about active skills. The listening challenge directly tests comprehension. Did you actually understand what was being said?
A mini test, basically.
Yeah. And the role play, even if you're doing it alone, pushes you to produce the language, to actually use the phrases and structures you've heard.
Moving from just listening to actually trying to speak.
Exactly. From passive reception to active production. That's a massive step in making knowledge your own, whatever the field. Reading about something versus actually doing it.
Right. And then finally, they wrap up with general practice tips.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's almost like they're just explicitly stating the learning principles they've been showing throughout the whole episode.
Making the implicit explicit.
Pretty much. Reinforcing things like, get consistent exposure, practice actively, don't be afraid of mistakes, find ways to make it fun.
All sounds like solid learning advice in general.
Absolutely. Cornerstones of effective learning, language or otherwise.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit. Looking at this whole resource, what are the main takeaways? What does it show us about effective learning design?
Well, a few things stand out quite clearly, I think. First, the focus on relatable, everyday stuff. That makes it immediately useful.
Relevance is key.
Definitely. Then, the way they speak, it's clear, maybe a touch slower than natural rapid speech, but not robotic. It helps comprehension.
Accessible, yeah.
Then there's the repetition of key phrases woven in naturally. Great for memory. The built-in practice, the listening challenge, the role-play prompts that encourages active engagement. You're not just a passive listener.
Right, you have to do something.
And finally, the explicit advice. Addressing common errors, giving study tips that's direct, actionable guidance.
So putting it all together, it's a pretty thoughtful structure.
It really is.
The aha moment for me here is realizing how even a simple conversation format like a podcast can be just packed with learning potential if it's structured well. It's not just random chat. There's a clear design, a clear pathway being laid out for the learner. Clarity and structure make a huge difference.
And if you think about your goal, right, the listener's goal maybe, of gaining knowledge efficiently, what this shows is that good learning often involves that breakdown.
Breaking complex things down.
Yeah, into manageable parts. Using clear, relatable examples, getting you actively involved, not just reading or listening passively.
And seeking out that practical advice, those targeted tips.
Exactly. It's about how the information is presented and how you interact with it.
So that brings us to the final thought, really, for you listening. How can you take these ideas, these principles we've seen in this language resource, and apply them elsewhere?
Yeah, whatever you're trying to learn. Think about the sources you use.
Are they structured logically? Do they build step by step?
Do they give you ways to, test yourself, to apply the information actively?
Yeah.
Is there clear, practical advice you can actually use?
Consider how those techniques, the clear structure, the relatable content, the active recall, the practical tips, could maybe make your own learning more effective.
Mm-hmm. Think about your own go-to sources of information. How could you approach them differently using some of these principles to maybe learn faster or make things stick better?
Something to mull over. How can you structure your own learning intake for better results? Welcome to the deep dive. So you've brought us something interesting this time. It's a conversation from a podcast.
That's right. It's called A Day in Our Lives Learn English Through Real Conversation. And it features two speakers, Emma and Jack.
Okay, Emma and Jack. And our goal here, as always, is to really dig into what they talked about, pull out those key insights, the relatable bits about daily life.
Exactly. It's like getting the essence of their conversation, a shortcut to understanding some common themes without you having to listen to the whole thing.
And because it's a natural chat, we get to see how they talk, not just what they talk about.
Precisely. What they choose to share, how they interact. So, where does this day in their lives start?
It kicks off with their mornings, actually, and it's quite a contrast right away.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, Jack's an early bird, up around 6:30 a.m.
Wow. Okay.
And he has this whole routine down pat. Water, stretch, brush teeth, shower. Then he checks his phone, news, calendar.
All before breakfast.
All before breakfast, which is eggs and toast around 7:3. It feels very planned, very structured.
Right. Like setting up for an efficient day, getting things in order, provides a sense of control, maybe.
Could be. And Emma, totally different vibe.
Okay. How's her morning?
Much slower. Wakes up maybe 7:30, 8:00. And she prioritizes quiet time first.
Quiet time. Like how?
Meditation or just, having a coffee in peace before the day really begins.
Ah, so less about immediate activity, more about easing into it, setting a mood.
Exactly. One's about getting going. The other's about finding calm first. It's quite a difference.
Fascinating. It really makes you think about what we want from our mornings. Productivity or peace.
Yeah. So how does that energy translate into their free time? What about hobbies?
Well, their hobbies also show different styles. Jack likes listening to music for relaxation.
What kind?
Jazz, chill beats. He mentioned going for walks while listening too. An auditory escape, sort of.
Okay. Anything else?
He used to play guitar, but now it's more watching movies or YouTube. But interestingly,
Yeah.
he uses subtitles. Kind of like a low-key learning tool, even when he's relaxing.
Huh. So even downtime has a bit of an angle. What about Emma? Is she similar?
Not really. Emma's hobbies are much more hands-on, creative.
Like what?
She does watercolor painting, nature stuff, mostly trees, flowers, birds.
Oh, lovely.
And she's into photography too, often taking pictures in the park. Sometimes she uses those photos.
It was inspiration for the paintings.
Exactly. It's this nice little loop of observing and creating.
So Jack's more receptive, listening, watching, and Emma's more active, making things.
Yeah, different ways of unwinding, finding fulfillment. One takes things in, the other puts things out.
Interesting. Did this difference show up in something like cooking?
It did, actually. Jack's approach, simple and quick.
Let me guess. Pasta?
You got it. Boiled pasta, throw in some vegetables, olive oil, maybe cheese. Done.
Efficient. Gets the job done, matches his morning routine, sort of. Food as fuel.
Seems like it. Practicality first. Emma, on the other hand?
More adventurous.
Definitely. She enjoys trying recipes from different countries. Mentioned making a Thai curry recently.
Oh, nice. With all the bits.
Yeah, coconut milk, red curry paste, fresh veggies. She seems to enjoy the process more, the exploration.
So again, practicality versus maybe experience or novelty.
I think that sums it up well. It's
Yeah.
quite revealing, isn't it? How even food choices reflect broader outlooks.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears. Travel. Did they talk about travel?
They did. Emma seems to really love it. Talked about the feeling of freedom it gives her.
Where's she been recently?
Italy, Rome, Florence, Venice. Sounds like she's soaked up the history, the art, the food.
Classic Italy trip. Sounds amazing. That suggests a real curiosity about culture.
I think so. A desire to immerse herself in different places. And Jack, did he travel recently?
His trip was different, shorter, more about nature.
Okay.
Went to the mountains for a weekend, relaxing in a cabin, doing some hiking.
Ah, so more of a retreat, seeking tranquility, nature.
Seems like it. And their dream trips kind of echo this too.
Oh, where do they want to go?
Jack mentioned Japan for the culture.
Okay, interesting. And Emma?
New Zealand for the nature, the peaceful atmosphere.
Wow. So again, different draws. Culture versus landscape almost.
Yeah, though both clearly value getting away. It's just what they seek in that escape that differs.
It's like their travel preferences mirror their hobbies in a way.
Good point. Okay, what about the work side of their lives?
Right, work. Jack's a graphic designer.
Okay, office, home,
He used to work in an office, but now he's working from home.
and how does he feel about that? The eternal question these days.
Yeah. Mixed feelings, pretty much. Misses the face-to-face stuff, the teen energy.
But enjoys the flexibility, I bet.
Exactly, that classic trade-off.
Very relatable. And Emma, what's her work situation?
She's an online English teacher.
Ah, okay. Has she always done that?
No, she used to teach at a physical school. And actually, she kind of echoed Jack's feelings.
Missing the classroom buzz.
Yeah, that energy. Even though, again, the online flexibility is good.
They both mentioned needing discipline for working from home, right?
Yes, that came up. The challenge of your home also being your office.
Definitely takes adjustment. Did Emma mention any specific career goals?
She did. She wants to write an English learning book someday.
Oh, interesting. Taking her teaching expertise and making it more permanent, wider reach.
Yeah. Seems like a way to share what she knows on a bigger scale.
Yeah,
Shows real dedication.
for sure. Okay, moving from work to something maybe more personal. How do they handle meeting new people?
This was quite revealing, too. Jack admitted he's generally shy.
Okay, not unusual.
But he said he really values connecting with people from different cultures. Sees it as a way to grow, to learn.
So pushing past the shyness because the benefit is worth it.
That's the sense I got. Recognizing the value, even if it's a bit uncomfortable.
That's a mature way to look at it. And Emma, is she shy too?
She didn't mention being shy. She actually talked about enjoying really simple, small conversations. Just a, hi, how's your day kind of thing.
Yeah.
She feels those little interactions can really brighten things up.
That's a nice perspective. The power of small connections.
And they both sort of encouraged listeners, encouraged you to try it.
Try talking to someone new.
Yeah, even just a simple greeting. Said it's good English practice, but also just, a good way to connect.
I like that. It lowers the stakes. Connection doesn't have to be some deep conversation.
Exactly. Sometimes simple is powerful.
Now, since this whole chat came from a language learning source, did they offer any specific English tips?
They did. Some really practical ones.
Okay, like what?
Emma's big one was listening every day. Podcasts, music, videos, whatever.
Just immersing yourself in the sound of English.
Right. To get your ear tuned in. Makes sense.
Uh-huh. What else?
So Jack's tip was about repetition. Active repetition.
How so?
Hear a new phrase, say it out loud. Like 5 times, he suggested, to help it stick.
Okay. Vocalizing it.
Yeah.
Making it active.
Yeah. And Emma added another point.
Which was,
don't worry too much about grammar at first. Focus on just communicating.
get the message across first, polish the grammar later.
Pretty much. Their overall message seemed to be that language is for speaking, not for being perfect.
That's really encouraging for learners. Takes the pressure off.
Definitely. It emphasizes fluency and confidence over textbook perfection.
So, wrapping this up, this deep dive into just a snippet of Emma and Jack's day has shown us quite a lot.
It really has. From how they start their day to hobbies, food, travel, work, even how they approach talking to strangers.
And through their, fairly normal conversation, we see these different ways people balance things, rest and activity routine, and trying new stuff.
Creativity versus consuming things. Yeah, lots of universal themes packed in there.
So for you listening, maybe take a second to think about your own day. How does your morning routine look? What do you do just for fun?
How do you approach food or travel? How do your experiences line up with or differ from Emma's or Jack's?
And here's a thought to leave you with. Reflect on those daily patterns and interactions. Maybe consider one small tweak you could make, or one quick hello you could offer someone new.
And also, think about how different cultural perspectives might shape all these everyday things. Mornings, hobbies, connecting with people in ways maybe you haven't considered before. It's a fascinating lens to look through.